I'm going to do this whole episode through the megaphone.
Excellent.
So anyway, this movie is really awesome. I think it's really good.
I feel like I'm in a hostage situation.
Hello, and welcome to Hello, This is the Doom Show. I'm Richard.
I'm Brad.
And we are back for our 6th episode to discuss the amazing Symptoms, directed by Jose Ramon Larraz. And, yep. I don't know what else to say, man. I think we're done.
All right, good show.
Good show, everybody. Brad, what have you been watching lately? Tell me.
I watched this week, this is nothing really that new, but to me, a few things, but I rewatched Lisa and the Devil, and I watched Torso. I continued on with my watching some Friday the 13th, so we watched part 6 yesterday morning. Really, that's about it.
How did you like part 6 again?
I like it. It's jokey. After part 5, no real Jason. They brought him back. It's the beginning of the really, really supernatural Jason. It's got Ron Patello from Welcome Back, Kotter, Rorschach in the beginning, which is interesting. It's the only Friday the 13th film, and I think the entire series that doesn't have any nudity. So, of course, I was taken aback by that.
I did not know that.
It's true. Yeah, it's a good movie. It's actually the only one I think that actually features children at a camp, like actual children, not teenagers, counselors.
Oh my god.
But yeah, they break the fourth wall. They make some jokes. Not a bad film at all. I read according to Wikipedia, knower of all things, that it's a fan favorite, and I can see why. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Lisa and the Devil I watched again because somebody disparaged it, and I thought I'm going to take up for it and watch it again. It's my favorite Bava. I'm pretty sure it's yours too, or we'll probably get around to covering it.
Hasn't Lisa and the Devil suffered enough? Don't mess with it. I said Lisa and the Devil.
The Devil?
The Devil. I'm scared of the Devil.
But, no. What have you been watching?
I've been watching some weird stuff. On the blog, I posted about my viewing of Night of the Skull by Jess Franco.
That's one of my top 5 Francos right there.
I have to admit, I really liked it. It was really sloppy, but he didn't try to cover it up by being Franco. He just kept on trucking. Mm-hmm. And I really liked it. It was good. Had some crimmy elements and some giallo elements and the gothic horror. It was nice. I love the rubber mask on the killer. That was appropriate.
Yeah, it's like an old dark house, crimmy inheritance, reading of the will kind of thing. I enjoyed it. Of course, I believe that was the first Franco that I saw.
Wow. What a weird place to start.
Well, you're going through Netflix and you're looking for, I wanted to see all the slashers and the proto slashers that I could, and that came up. After that, we watched Bloody Moon was the second Franco I think I saw, because that is pretty much known as his contribution to the early 80s slasher cycle.
And what a contribution it is.
Yeah, really. That's a really good film, too. I enjoy it quite a bit.
And I also watched... for my birthday's coming up, so I had to watch something from 1976. Mm-hmm. And I watched The Sexy Killer from the Shaw Brothers, and it was a remake of Coffee, starring Pam Grier, with a little bit of They Call Her One Eye thrown in. There was a lot of gratuitous slow motion, so I think those were the two influences. But I really liked it. Yesterday, hanging out with my wife's family, we watched Iron Man 2, which I had not seen. and I really enjoyed that. It was very, very action, popcorny kind of movie.
Well, the part about the thing that I really like is I enjoyed the rehabilitation of Robert Downey Jr. I really enjoyed Sherlock Holmes. I thought that was good.
Oh yeah, we love Sherlock Holmes in this house.
Yeah, it's good.
And we're looking forward to the sequel.
Oh yeah.
It looks like they spent a couple bucks on it.
Yeah.
$2.98 for the CGI, please.
Thank you.
And after that, we watched Rango.
How was that?
That was a lot of fun. There is so many movie references in that. I was trying to keep count, and I could not keep a hold of it. It was just really hilarious. Great kids movie with plenty of jokes for the adults to stay awake. Although I was having a lot of trouble staying awake, but I think that was a big breakfast.
It'll do it to you.
Lietta kept looking at me and waking me up. She's like, "How are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm okay. I'm okay. I like this movie." I didn't miss anything significant, but I did. It was like those micro naps from the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. I'm sorry, I'm having my micro naps.
I had one a minute ago. Sorry.
It's cool, dude. I think that's it. I think that's all I've been. It's not been a big movie week. I think I've been playing with my guitars and playing with editing our show too much. At the time of this recording, we have episode 4 is recorded, and I haven't finished editing it. Episode 5, of course, is recorded and has not been put up yet either. The main thing that what people don't know about podcasts is that you have to edit out all the pig squeals, and you have to edit out all the rape whistles, and
probably spent a lot of time this week editing out where I was crying during episode 4.
Oh yeah, Brad was really tearful during episode 4.
I was emotional.
Tourist Trap does that to people.
It does.
I said this last week, but I'm gonna make a Facebook page for our show because we're so talented and so amazing and so wonderful that
I agree.
I'm surprised we're not being paid for this. What other way to reach out to our multi-millions of fans by having a Facebook page?
My friend Jimmy did ask me how much I got paid for this. And I just laughed. Like it's not a paying gig, Jimmy.
We get paid in okay. I don't have an answer for that.
We do it because we enjoy it.
Do we, Brad? Do we?
I do. I look forward to it, yeah.
All right, let's talk about Symptoms.
Excellent. 1974?
Yes.
Perhaps released in 1976, according to IMDb. It is, from what I've seen so far, it's definitely my favorite Jose Ramon Larraz film. A lot of people pick Vampires over it, which is understandable. But then again, I like The House That Screamed, or The House That Vanished, a.k.a. Scream and Die, and a lot of people don't really seem to like that one.
Scream and Die is alright. I remember watching it and kind of expecting the ending to go a different direction. That's one thing about Scream and Die. It doesn't move the way you think it's going to move. It's not generic. So it threw me off, and I think that's why I didn't love it. You know, I think a second viewing will maybe give me a better opinion of it. And Vampires was my favorite for a long time. But then again, what were the other Larraz movies I'd seen? Oh, I don't know. Black Candles.
Black Candles. Lord have mercy.
Wow.
That's really all I can say about that.
Yeah, so I'd say Symptoms I definitely like better than Vampires now. In fact, I'm suddenly very critical of Vampires unfairly because I'm watching Symptoms and I just get angry at Vampires. Like, why can't you be more like your sister?
I like the premise of it.
And it's got some jaw-dropping moments of just, holy crap.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, why don't you synopsize Symptoms?
No! Okay. Symptoms is about a young lady named Helen she brings her friend Anne to, I believe it's the family summer home out in the British place.
The British place.
And it's very quiet out there, and they decide to do just to get away from the hustle and bustle of London. Anne is working on her thesis, I believe. Helen has just gotten back from Switzerland. Was it Switzerland?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Writing technical manuals?
Yes, but she was also convalescing. She'd had some kind of a breakdown. The only other person around is Brady, the groundskeeper, who Helen does not like. She finds him very disgusting and rude, and there's virtually no interaction between her and him, but you kind of suspect that maybe he's made the moves on her. Something strange has happened. She does not like him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And they settle in, and the weather's really kind of crappy. Come on, it's England, you know.
British weather.
When you're in the British place, expect the British weather. So they're holed up in this big old house alone, and things are a little creepy. Helen is clearly not well. She hears sounds that she claims that no one else can hear, and she gets strange headaches, and just generally an odd little girl.
Helen is played by Angela Pleasance, who is Donald Pleasance's daughter.
She's one of 4 daughters of Donald Pleasance, all of which did acting, but only Angela and Miranda Pleasance have been in a lot of movies. The other 2 daughters haven't acted as much.
Here's a bit of trivia for you concerning my favorite film, Halloween. And I don't know which daughter it was, but the reason that Donald Pleasance agreed to do Halloween was that his daughter had seen Assault on Precinct 13 and really liked it, and told him, yeah, if you're going to work with this Carpenter fella, you should.
Oh, that's right.
You know, I wonder if it was Angela or not.
That certainly would help with the horror legacy, you know?
Yeah.
Because Angela was in a couple of, she was in 3 horror movies, I think. She was in the anthology From Beyond the Grave, which I cannot remember if I've seen or not. It's on DVD finally. I think it came out on DVD a couple years ago.
I haven't seen it.
You should watch it and let me know if it's any good.
I want to very much now because she's in it. I like her.
Angela Pleasance is awesome. She's also in a movie called The Godsend, which is another horror. That's from 1980. And I just downloaded that this morning because I couldn't frickin' find it anywhere. How's that? Take that, Internet. Wah, wah, wah. So we'll get back to you on some of Angela Pleasance's other films, but I really don't care because she is so awesome, so unsettlingly great in this movie.
I know she plays the ghost of one of the Christmases, George C. Scott, A Christmas Carol, which I saw a ton as a kid, but I really don't remember her.
Yeah, when you watch that again, it'll be awesome to see her.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
She has a unique look about her.
Oh, yeah. To say the least.
It's not, you know.
She looks like a freaking alien.
Yeah, she kind of does. She's not I found her to be attractive, but she's not classically attractive.
No, she's very, very interesting looking. Peter Vaughn plays Brady, the groundskeeper, and this guy was in over 200 movies.
Wow.
My favorite of which being Straw Dogs by Sam Peckinpah. Oh yeah, there's some ultra violence for you right there.
Yeah, I like Straw Dogs.
Lorna Heilbronn, who plays Anne, Helen's friend, was in The Creeping Flesh, which I just recently rediscovered, and she was awesome in it. And you know what's so funny? Didn't even know it was her. Didn't know, had no clue it was the same actress because she's got the little pixie haircut in Symptoms. She does not have the long flowing hair that she has in The Creeping Flesh, so I didn't recognize her.
Wow, nice. I like to see that because I do like her.
Yeah. Other career actors in this, Nancy Nevison. She plays the kind of the maid, housekeeper, what have you, at Helen's house, at the summer house. And she was in something like 75 or 80 TV and film roles, and she looked really familiar to me, but I couldn't place her. But
yeah,
it's just I end up watching a lot of British television, a lot of period pieces with my wife, and so I've definitely seen her before.
My wife would watch Keeping Up Appearances 24 hours a day if she could.
So would mine.
She loves, and I like it.
You know what? That show pushes my buttons, man. I have often dreamt of stabbing Hyacinth Bucket to death.
I believe it's Bouquet.
No, it's not Bouquet. Especially not after the episode with the skis, where she buys Richard some skis for his birthday, even though he doesn't ski. It's so that when they have them on the hood of the car, people will think they ski.
Right. Yes, it's all about appearances.
And keeping them up, really.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do was take one of those skis and like chop her head off with it, because you don't mess with Richard's birthday.
No, you don't. We saw Richard in a couple. I've seen him in a couple of films, horror films.
Yeah.
I want to say he's in Raw Meat.
Yes, he is. Well, you know what?
Donald Pleasance in it.
Hey, I got the internet. Let's look it up. What was the other title for that? It was Raw Meat, and it was something else. Deathline.
Deathline, yeah.
Yeah. All right, come on. I am the butthead. Clive Swift.
Thank you.
Yep, he's in it. Let's see.
I thought. I've seen him in a few things.
He was in Frenzy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he was in Frenzy.
Man, that's awesome. I love the internet. I'll probably edit all this out too, and I'll make it sound like we thought of this off the top of our heads. What was I talking about?
The film starts out with a beautiful shot of the sun through the trees, and you see a pond and a rowboat, and you see just a very short clip of a man and a woman getting it on in the forest.
And then
it goes to a woman's photo on a desk, and there's a woman, and it's Angela Pleasant sitting there writing a letter. And she picks up the photo, and she says something, and I wrote this down.
Last night, I dreamt that they had returned. They were here again, just like in other dreams. But this time, it was all confused. I have a feeling that something is about to happen, something final, in which I will be involved.
And that, to me, kind of reminds me of Rebecca, the famous first line of Rebecca, which is, last night I dreamt I was at Manderley again. And it's kind of got that kind of, I like to call this film part of a genre that I made up, because I like to do that sort of thing, quiet horror. It's a very peaceful film intercut with just brutal violence. It's very pastoral. It's really got a British feel to it. A lot of Larraz films were filmed in Britain or with British money, so he was a Castilian. I never really know whether to lump him in Spanish horror or British horror.
I lump him into Spanish horror, but he's definitely a man of both countries,
Well, whereas the Italians love their Anglophiles, he actually did go to Britain and film there a lot of things.
Yeah, I gotta wonder if he had what kind of output he would have had if he'd stayed in Spain. I think he probably would have quit acting. Quit directing, because he really found his home. Because this feels very British. At no point do I start getting the Spanish feeling, like the Spanish feeling, whatever that is. I had to change my pants. I had that Spanish feeling.
Oh man, I've got some of that Spanish feeling coming on.
What I like about this movie is it feels like Repulsion. It reminds me of Persona. Some of the editing is very experimental. Let me ask you this, Brad. Why is the title of the movie cut into the middle of is it the middle or is the first third of the movie? Like, all of a sudden, it just says symptoms.
I don't know. This is one that you downloaded and sent me a copy of.
But, before, don't do that. Don't download it, because you can get a copy of this movie from Cinema de Bazaar.
Yeah, I might even do that, because I like ordering from them. I like sending them money, because they're great. I really don't know. It's weird. It's kind of a flowery screen or something.
You know what it looks like?
I don't know if maybe that was taken from
It looked to me like it was supposed to be the cover of like a really cheesy, badly bound manual or someone's notebook, and it made me wonder if maybe that's the title of something Anne is writing. Maybe that's her thesis, or part of her thesis was the symptoms of some kind of because we never know what she's going to school for.
No.
But I love it. Like, you're watching the movie, and the movie started, and you're kind of settling into, and the movie messes with your head a little bit, and all of a sudden, it messes with your head even more by all of a sudden, symptoms. There's no music.
Yeah.
There's no fanfare. There's no directed by anything. It's just symptoms.
Yeah.
It's like, you kind of get the idea that Jose Ramon Larraz is going to be messing with you during this movie, and he does.
Well, there was a little bit of difference from what IMDb said about the running time of the film and what the film is.
Really?
Now, you being more accustomed to being able to notice when things are cut, I don't know, did you get that feeling that anything was cut? I didn't.
No, not at all. Not in the least. The violence happens very quickly, and it doesn't linger too much, but there's not that, because we know when something's been censored, it completely throws off the flow of the movie. I mean, you can really sense it. This one, it just feels like maybe there was more character interaction, or maybe there was sequences where they went to town or something. Maybe something like that was cut. I would guess that there was a festival version, like a film festival version, because this did go to Cannes. I said Cannes. This did go to Cannes Film Festival, which I actually have a little quote to read from. You're not the only one who gets to read stuff today.
Excellent.
This is from an excellent book called Immoral Tales by Cathal Tohill and Pete Toombs. This is a great book on sexy stuff happening in Euro horror and general Euro sleaze. It's a good book. There's an entire chapter in here on Jose Ramon Larraz, and here's something from the beginning of that chapter. Symptoms is a haunting original film. Jack Nicholson raved about it when it was screened at the Cannes Film Festival, and critic Dave Peary called it mesmerizing and really impressive. But it never received the word-of-mouth reputation it deserves. For 20 years the film has languished in the vaults, and like many of Larraz's films, it's ripe for rediscovery and reappraisal. Well, when this book was written, it had been languishing in the vaults for 20 years. Now it's been languishing in the vaults for 30 years. And it's so funny. My biggest question about that paragraph, who is Jack Nicholson? You still there, Brad? That was perfect.
We will be right back.
Hello, my name is Rod Barnett.
I'm Troy Gwynn.
And we are your genial co-hosts for NashyCast, the podcast about the films of Paul Naschy. If you don't know who Paul Naschy is, you need to learn.
Spanish horror icon, writer, director, actor, makeup artist.
He is all of these things and more. Paul Naschy, one of the greatest genre filmmakers of all time. Do titles like Horror Rises from the Tomb,
Vengeance of the Mummy, Werewolf Shadow,
House of Psychotic Women,
Blue Eyes of the Broken Doll,
Mark of the Werewolf make you want to see more?
Watch the film, then come hear our stunning, brilliant commentary.
Stunning and brilliant. That's us. Think that's too egotistical? You think that sounds silly? Think we come off as assholes?
Look, if nothing else, let us tell you this. Blood, nudity, beautiful women, werewolves and turtlenecks.
Nipples. Lots of nipples. Both male and female. Yeah. I don't know if anybody's going to want to listen to us after this, man. Find us at The Bloody Pit of Rod, or
You can subscribe to us on iTunes.
give us a listen. And if we scare you too much, well, maybe Spanish horror is not your thing. I don't know.
Okay, we had some more technical difficulties there. I thought I'd really stumped Brad on the who is Jack Nicholson joke.
I have no idea.
Jack Nichol's son? Who's Jack Nichols? I don't even know who his son is. Let me see if I can get my train of thought back here on that quote. But yeah, this movie is unfairly obscure. I think, as much as I really love vampires, I would be much happier to see this have a nice DVD, see this end up on Blu-ray. You know, this is magnificent. I'm sure it's tied up in some producer's clause or something, you know.
Well, out of the films that we've seen, privately since you and I become friends, this to me is right up there with Next of Kin and The Haunting of Julia as new films that I've discovered and really being just really outstanding films that I really enjoy. This is a film, and I know we'll get into the plot here in a minute, but this is a film where you feel like there are things going on off camera, you know, that are not in the film, not cut out, but I'm saying that there's things going on behind the scenes that really add to the atmosphere.
The movie has this unbearable tension and this insane foreboding, and it just don't feel right, you know. Something bad is coming, and it helps that there's a lot of cool editing. There's a lot of kind of jarring. The camera doesn't show you what you need to see. It shows you what it wants to show you, and everything has a purpose in this movie. Just every shot feels important. You know, every music cue is part of a grand design. And this is not half-assed, cheap horror. This is profoundly important film, you know.
I agree 100%. I don't know why that it has been in the vault for 30 years. It would be interesting to find out if its producer, you know, the rights are tied up. At this time, in 2011, it's hard to tell when a film, because has not been released, if it's, you know, economic situation. You know, as we all know, that everybody cut back on releasing DVDs, you know, at the beginning of the recession. You know, it really makes you wonder. I think this is a film that Blue Underground could pick up and, you know, just do an excellent job with. You know, but I don't know what the market, you know, would bear. I'm fairly sure Blue Underground picked up Vampires, didn't they? Didn't they put out the last release of that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I really love the music. The musical score in Symptoms is awesome. Composer John Scott, who's pretty famous, he's done a lot of stuff. I like the music. It's really classy. It really classes the movie up, you know. It's got good use of flute. I mean, how often do you hear flute used properly, you know?
Very rarely.
Other than in Jethro Tull, right?
Right.
But the music can be gorgeous, and the music can be really scary. It's not a one-note thing. It's really nice.
Mm-hmm. So two women drive up to a country house, and Angela Pleasant says that she doesn't come very often, and they're opening windows, and she tells her friend Cora that she's been in Switzerland writing technical manuals, and there's a nice little domestic scene. Cora takes a bath, and AP just kind of stares at her, you know, Angela Pleasant.
That's a very important scene.
Yeah, they're just kind of settling in, you know, and you're not really sure who they are yet. They have dinner, and they're both pretty much decked out in their best hippie garb. And she says, "Do you hear that?" And then they show a picture, a shot of an owl outside the house. And it's just kind of like you just at this point, you're just dipping your toe into what's about to come. You know, you kind of get that feeling that they're setting it up very well, I think.
Yeah, she's... Helen says, I hear things nobody else can, and she's... oh, man, it's so hard to talk about this movie without, like, just spoiling the whole thing. What do you say we warn people now about spoilers and just talk about this damn thing?
I'd say, yeah.
Okay, so here you go, folks.
Honestly, I think that once we get into it, I've got questions for you as to what you think is actually going on, because it really is kind of ambiguous.
Yeah, it leaves a lot open. So there'll be many readings of this text. But here we go, folks. We're going to now spoil the rest of this movie. If you haven't seen Symptoms yet, do yourself a favor. I know I heartily recommend it. There's no way, if you appreciate good horror movies, that you will not like this one. I know you will like this one. Turn the show off and come back to us later after you've seen it. You can find it on the net, but I recommend finding it at good old Cinema de Bazaar, who has a lot of our money.
And they will continue to get a lot of our money.
Yes, so, alright. Now that we've agreed to spoil this film, let's talk about Helen, the way we want to talk about Helen.
Okay.
She's crazy as shit.
Yeah.
This is a very, very crazy, very damaged young lady who is already gone over the edge. And unfortunately for Anne, her friend Anne, she is really gone. And she starts to come apart when Anne interacts with people, particularly of the male persuasion. When Anne's former fiancé, John, shows up, we don't know why she and John have split up, but we get the idea that they're not together at the moment. Maybe they're just taking some time off. But John shows up, and Helen sees he and Anne in the car together, and it's like she gets very cross. You can just tell. It's like you can tell she's jealous. You can tell that there's a lot more to her friendship with Anne than meets the eye, at least on her side of things. But it gets even worse when Anne is walking and stumbles upon Brady, the groundskeeper, and they have a little conversation. And that's when Helen really gets upset.
Well, let me ask you this at this point. You get the feeling that someone else is in the house with them, because Cora says, not Cora, Anne says that you left the tap on in the water basin this morning. She's like, Helen's like, no, I didn't. And there's a picture of another woman in the house, Cora.
Yep.
And she asks who she is, and Helen says, well, she's a friend of mine. And Helen actually goes down to the druggist's, and the druggist asks about Cora, and she says, well, she's not here with me. And he says, well, it must be lonely in that big house. And she says, yes. Helen goes to fill up a pot of water, and there's this window in front of the sink, and you actually see Cora's face, and it quickly recedes out of the window, and a very, very effective shot.
Yeah, very scary. Right off that, after that moment, you're like, oh shit, it's on now. Like,
right.
And that's another thing. Brady actually asks Anne about Cora, and he's like, well, she had her friend Cora up here too, and Anne's like, I don't know. Because, Anne doesn't know anything. She doesn't know what's going on.
And she talks about Cora and says that Cora was full of ideas, and you wouldn't believe some of them. Yes. And you get a really strong lesbian vibe at that point.
There's actually a moment on the stairs where Helen begs Anne never to leave her. And, of course, Anne's like, well, I'm going to have to leave you eventually. That's when Helen kisses her, and it's like, okay. And it's a really quick moment, but Anne looks very surprised.
Very surprised.
Like, oh, that's how it is.
Yeah, at that point you go to nighttime, and Anne hears voices, and she goes to investigate. She wanders down the hall, and she hears moaning. And she tries to get into Helen's room. Helen's just like, oh, I didn't hear anything. There's nothing going on.
Like, why do you lock the door?
There is.
Why did you lock the door? Sometimes I lock the door, and she seems a little disheveled, like something was going on.
And they go on a bike ride, and then they sit down, and Anne asks Helen if there's anyone else in the house.
Yep.
Because Anne has the impression that they're not alone. And Helen denies it, and that's when they get back to the house. John shows up, and he wants her to leave, but she says, well, I need a few more days with with Helen. And John says, well, I'll be back in a few days. And that's when, Helen's really upset. And then Anne hears banging around upstairs and Helen moaning again. And she goes in the room, and in Helen's room, there is a stairwell and a doorway to the attic in the ceiling. You obviously know that there's something up there. She goes, Helen is gone, and Anne goes up the stairs into the attic, and it's a really, really well-made, scene there where she's in the dark. She's got a little lamp. She's investigating in the attic, and she calls Helen's name, and she knocks something over, and she finds Cora's luggage, and a draft blows through, and the lamp goes out, and you see feet. Someone creeps up behind Anne and turns out the lamp.
Yeah, it's really, really scary. It's just a masterfully edited and wonderfully shot stalking / creeping moment, and you kind of know what's going on, but for whatever reason they withhold who the identity of this person is, and who's stalking Anne in the attic. But before we get up those stairs, you don't want to go up those stairs. Every time that they show the way that Helen looks on that staircase, it's really creepy. It's terrifying. Like, you get this feeling like, oh, please don't.
Right.
And don't go up. No, the stairs. No. It's so great. I mean, this is a smart movie, and it plays right into what makes horror movies great. It's perfect. This is just a great film. And of course, this mysterious person upstairs kills Anne, stabs her to death, which is really shocking. I mean, it's because a lot of these psychological horror films with the that have the supernatural overtones, a lot of times they're not that blunt. They're not that coarse. Usually they just sort of hint at the scary, and then you're kind of left to your imagination. No, people get their asses stabbed in this one. Well, not their asses, but...
Well, I think one of the really, really effective scenes in this film is that the next morning Helen is cutting butter with a knife, and she looks at the knife and there's blood all over it, and she just very calmly goes over to the sink and washes it off.
Yeah, she's not... She's surprised, but she's not frightened by this. She's not... She's certainly not mortified.
You wonder, is she the killer, or is she just crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're still alluding at this point that there's somebody else there.
And it's at that point that she goes into her room, and what does she find in her room?
Anne's body.
It's just sitting in a chair.
And this, you want to talk about... The one thing I love about horror movies is the thing that should not be. There should not be a body in this chair. There should not be the dead body of her friend just sitting there. And it's really unsettling because Anne's eyes are still open, and she's white, and it's just there. It's just there. And that's one of the things I love about really good horror movies, is when there's something that you can't accept, and it's right there in your face, and it's perfect.
Well, yeah, at this point she goes and she leans onto the arm of the chair and just looks at Anne. And then she goes back around behind the bed, and she plays with her hair while she's just looking at her, her dead friend. And then she lies down in the bed and just looks at the attic door, and it's just mental illness.
Yeah. She's completely crazy.
The attic door opens, and the same feet in the bottom part of the dress that we saw in the scene upstairs in the attic when Anne got killed comes down the steps and climbs into bed with Helen. And you're just like, whoa.
Yeah. It's the character of Cora in this movie is really cool. I mean, this is someone who's clearly a seducer, kind of a loose woman, maybe a vampish type, let's just say it. She's a voracious slut.
Right.
All right. And Helen was in love with her.
And it did not work out.
No.
For anyone.
It did not go very well. But, you get the sense that something did happen between her and Helen, between Cora and Helen, that there was much more to the story than just they were just buds.
Well, let me ask you two things. One, I left something out from earlier that I wanted to mention to you. At one point when Anne has gone to town to mail a letter, in a scene somewhat like when she's filling up the water and you see Cora's face in the window quickly receding, she walks past a mirror, and very quickly you can see Cora standing, her reflection in the mirror.
Yeah, she's standing over by the stairs.
Very, very creepy.
Oh, yeah.
Very creepy.
Blink and you'll miss it moment.
Yes, exactly. Let me ask you this. You see Cora throughout the film very quickly. You very clearly see her come down the stairs. Is she in the film, in your estimation?
No.
Is this a ghost? Is this a zombie?
I think, well, this could very well be a ghost because certain unexplained things happen. Well, I mean, you could chalk all of this up to Helen's psychosis. You could say all of this, is just happening in her mind, but the movie very smartly gives you the impression that maybe there is a ghost. Maybe Cora really is there. And I like to think that Cora really is there.
Well, and it's all a matter of what the filmmaker wants to do, but a lot of times when you have an unreliable narrator and you see things from their perspective, when you see Cora, you're not seeing them from her perspective, from Helen's perspective. You're seeing them from the viewer's perspective. You're not seeing, through her eyes. You're seeing her see things, but you're seeing them from outside of her point of view. Right. So it makes me wonder, I like to leave it just up in the air myself, and say things still as if like, is Cora, is that her ghost? Is she haunting Helen, or is she haunting Helen in her mind? Helen's actually haunting Helen.
I think the casting of Cora is really perfect. She's played by Jack Nicholson.
I believe so, yes.
No, Cora is played by Marie-Paul Melou, which you may remember from such films as... You might also remember her from...
Yeah.
No, she was... Marie-Paul Melou was not in a lot of movies. I think she might have been a porn actress. I couldn't really tell. It seemed like maybe she was just one of those kind of one-off things. But the little time that we do see this actress in this film are just perfect. It's like... she may not be the most experienced actress, but she, what we see of her is really cool. Especially when she's seducing Brady, the very sexy groundskeeper.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of get the feeling. I think that it's nice. If you think about it, you think maybe that Cora was just sex-starved.
Yeah, she was...
Because why would she choose to get it on with Brady? He's old and gross and obviously not a very... likable
dude.
Likable, sophisticated dude.
No. Everybody hates this guy.
Yeah, and with good reason. I mean, he's an odd fella.
Yeah, he's very ominous, very kind of a bully, much like a lot of the characters he's played over the years. You see these flashes of he and Cora getting it on in Helen's memory, and this because Helen is always spying on the grounds. She's always looking through binoculars at the grounds, and we have to guess that she saw this tryst between the two of them, and it just sent her over the edge. Because
well, you know, not only do you get confirmation of that even because the housekeeper comes in and Helen's on the couch, and Helen rushes her off and says, I need a few days alone. Don't clean anything. Just leave me alone. Go away. And she goes down to drugstore and they talk about the girls, and she says that she saw Brady and Cora getting it on. So you get some independent confirmation that, this wasn't just, in her psychosis, that she didn't just imagine this, is that, and the druggist is, there's no way that Cora would have gotten it on with him. So, but she says, yeah, I saw them. So you get independent confirmation of it.
Yeah. And Brady, he has been very threatening. He's trying to find out just what happens. He knows something has happened.
Right.
And then his suspicions are confirmed when he finds Cora's body in the lake.
Mm-hmm.
And he brings the body back, because he's a hunter, and he's always killing some pheasant or whatever. So he brings back Cora's body from the lake, and he's carrying it back like something he's been hunting. Like, it's really cool. He very nonchalantly, in broad daylight, shows up with Cora's body over his shoulder in a burlap sack, with the legs sticking out. just carries her, and he makes eye contact with Helen, who's in the window. Like, yep, found her. And then he throws her body in the shed, or in the little garage or whatever. And is that...
In the meantime, John has shown up.
Yes. John, Anne's fiancé, or ex-fiancé, as promised, has returned to collect Anne. And it doesn't work out so good.
No.
In a very shocking scene, he's snooping around, calling for Anne, looking for her. He just misses the room where her body is. And there's that tension, like, is he going to find her body? What's going to happen? And he's wandering down the hall, and then Helen, who we pretty much knew from the beginning was killing people.
Right.
But,
I mean, you put the spoiler alert out there early, within a very few short amount of minutes.
Yeah.
You're pretty sure that Helen is killing people, but also, like I said, there's also some, ambiguousness about it, but it's not like you have a whole cast of characters like in a giallo to try to determine who the killer is.
Yeah, so it is not, in fact, Cora's ghost killing people, but, unless she's possessing Helen. Helen makes very quick and brutal work of John, slashing his throat and stabbing him to death. And it's pretty shocking. It's not the best effects I've ever seen. It's not the best, it's not like they actually spent any money on it or anything, but it's just so brutal in the violence of it. It's explosive violence when you see him die, And you don't get to know this guy. He seems like kind of a dick, but it's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude.
I mean, he's just stumbled onto something really it's the end of him.
Yeah.
And then that's when Helen sees Brady with a body, and it's like it charges her, shocks her into action, because you see her, she's all made up, she's cleaned up, she's got makeup on, she's wearing a nice dress.
Yep. And who does she look like? She looks like Cora.
Yeah.
She actually dyes her hair darker, and she's wearing some she cleans up real good, but at this point in the movie, you're so scared of her. Like,
exactly.
Oh, shit. And Brady decides that because he's such a worldly smart dude, that he's going to blackmail Helen now that he has the body.
And because he says that he watched her push Cora into the lake.
Yeah, and he doesn't know what happened exactly because he was far away, but he suspects that he knows it was an intentional act. And Helen, Angela Pleasance, is so great in this scene. She's just like, but that's crazy. That's not Cora's body.
No.
And she just completely denies the evidence. And he's like, yeah, okay.
Well, you just said something that just hit me. If at this point Helen is dressed up as Cora, because I really did not make that connection until you said that. So I'm a dumbass. But,
No.
it perhaps at this point, Cora, it cannot be Cora's body because all of a sudden she is Cora.
Right.
That's very good.
Hey. Well, that's the one thing about this movie that I'd call a mistake. There's only one little error, and that's this. You could chalk this up to the cheapness of the production or whatever, because they cut a few costs here and there. But Cora's been missing for weeks.
Yes.
And her body is not bloated green corpse, like you'd see nowadays.
No.
And it's still a sexy corpse, what you can see of it.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's something that that either they didn't want to do, or they just didn't. But because it's really creepy when. Oh yeah, that's right. She totally kills Brady.
Yeah.
She
this is one of Elizabeth's maxims of horror films. You do not try to make deals, blackmail a killer.
No.
And there's a similar situation in Torso.
Yes.
Where someone has some information and they call up the killer. They're like, "Hey, I've got some information on you, but if you give me some money, I won't tell." And
I know you've killed like 3 or 4 people. No way that could happen to me, bro.
There's no way.
The thing I like is when she kills Brady by the fireplace with this very tiny little knife that apparently is sharper than shark's teeth, or it's like a Ginsu special or something. She is very animal-like when she killed. She looks like some otherworldly being when she. And the same thing happens with John when she kills John. It's like she strikes and backs up, and she strikes and she backs up, and and she's constantly watching her victims.
Right.
When she kills them.
Situation.
Yeah, it's like she's mathematically figuring out where to strike next, and that's the thing about Angela Pleasance's performance is, I wrote this down, like that she's very alien-like, she's very robotic, like when she sees Anne naked. When Anne is getting ready for the bath at the beginning of the movie that she mentioned, she sees her naked, and there's just this, it's like this register, like it's like something's registering in her mind that does not show on her face. Like she gives pause, but you can't read anything.
No.
And that's something you can probably thank her dad for, because when Donald Pleasance would place a crazy person or play these kind of robotic evil characters, that's the same thing. Or someone in shock, you can't read anything on his face. It's completely devoid of any emotion or sign, and it's just, it's like, what's my talent? What kind of like specialty in my life will my child get? For me, it's the ability to eat lots of Hostess cupcakes. That's my legacy. For the Pleasance family, it's like, look, I have no emotions.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because something that I noticed, I did watch Halloween 4 this week, and at least in the first 3 Halloween films that are Michael Myers-centric, not part 3, Loomis is the only one that's not afraid of Michael at all. Everyone recognizes that he's a threat, but Loomis is the only one that's not afraid.
No.
In 4, he goes out, he leaves them all in the house, and he's like, I'm going back to the little girl's house to see if he's there. And, Loomis, he's unafraid of Michael Myers.
Yeah, he feels, he's afraid of what he'll do.
Right.
But he's never afraid for himself because he feels he has this insight.
Well, when she kills Brady spills his own blood on Cora's photo, and they show that, and I thought that was very...
Oh, that was cool.
It's almost like, until that point, she was not dead to Helen.
Right.
Until someone says, hey, Cora's dead.
Yeah.
And then they show blood on her photo, which you see the photo quite a bit throughout the film. It's almost like the photo itself is haunting the house, because something will happen, and then they'll show a close-up of the photo on a desk.
There's actually a shot where, in the dark of the evening, the eyes of the photo are all that gets the light.
Right.
So it's kind of like she's watching, it's awesome.
After she kills Brady, she goes out and she finds Cora's body. And there's a storm, and the lights flickering that go out.
Oh, man.
And, this is what I think is very effective, because the film, for all intents and purposes, is over at this point.
Yeah. It's not quite.
there's still quite a bit of tension going on, because the lights go out, and in the dark, what do you see standing there in the door?
Cora.
And it's
oh, man.
It's super creepy. Super creepy.
Oh, it's this. I feel like this is the best film we've talked about. We've talked about a lot of films on the show already, especially after episode 3, where we talked about 368 movies.
Exactly.
But this is one film.
Into something that you and I discussed about the effectiveness of what you do in the camera, because there's certain scenes, like in Session 9, there's a scene where there's a shadowy figure in a tunnel, and it cost absolutely nothing to put this in, but it's so creepy. I mean, so creepy.
It adds layers to the movie.
It's creepier than any kind of CGI or anything could possibly be, and that's where, in this film, where you just see figures standing in hallways, or, things of that nature, the Cora's face for sitting in the window, it just really hits home. And I've seen this movie twice now. I watched it when you sent it to me, and then I watched it, of course, in preparation for this episode and took notes. And, even the second time, it's almost like your breath is taken away. I mean, this is why that we started the show, even though I huddle it up, and say a lot, and
I edit all those out.
Sort of thing. yeah, thank you. But, this is why we do the show, is to say, hey, this is it's a very well-made film. It makes me want to see it again, and I just saw it.
Yeah, everybody needs to check this one out. If you're even halfway interested in horror movies, this is perfect.
Yes, no doubt.
It's not action packed. It's not splatterific. It's not jokey, kooky 80s craziness. This is one of the best horror films of the 70s that nobody has seen, or at least not enough people have seen.
No, because she sees Cora there in the hallway, and she goes running through the house screaming for Cora. And Helen is a very sympathetic character.
Yeah, even with all that she's done, she's still...
Yeah. You feel for her at this moment, because she's screaming out for Cora, and, you know that she has killed her, and that she is being haunted by Cora, either through real means or her mind. And, honestly, it's probably through her mind. But it's just that ambiguous note there, and she misses Cora.
Yeah. I wrote in my notes that this movie, it blew my mind out right out the back of my head. It was like...
Excellent.
Yeah. I guess we recommend this, huh?
We do, yeah. To wrap up the plot there, the druggist and the housekeeper arrive the next morning, and with a kid from the town, and he looks in the window and he says, "It looks like there's a body in there." And they go in and they find Brady, and they go upstairs, and John's body is still just laying in the hallway where she had killed him.
Yep.
And Helen is standing there with her back to them, and she's just looking out a window, and it's super creepy. How
freaky. I mean, because for a split second there, that could be anyone standing in that window. We know it's Helen.
Yeah.
But man, it's just so screwed up. It's just like...
I
don't want her to turn around. I don't want those people to go down that hallway, because they don't know the danger they're in, if they are.
And you don't know if Helen's hiding, and it's going to attack them.
Yeah. All you see is this figure staring out the window, and it's like, oh, shit.
The last shot there is just heartbreaking, because she looks out the window and she sees Cora and Brady making out against a tree, which, if you remember, is pretty much the opening scene of the movie.
It starts like it begins, or ends like it begins.
Yeah, and a tear runs down her cheek, and it's over.
Yeah.
And I was just totally taken aback by the whole thing.
Yeah, there is no escape. All this stuff has happened, all this horrible change has occurred, all these things have happened, and yet she's still stuck in that loop. She can't forget seeing, her heartbreaking moment. That is irrevocably. Wait, I can't say it. Irrevocably changed. I've never said that word out loud in my life. Irrevocably changed her forever. And you know what? You know who really? Now that we're talking about this movie, I really feel like crap about Anne. Like,
yeah.
It's like Anne is still sitting in the chair. Like, I wrote down that she looked like David Bowie in a few of those shots there with her.
She did.
Her pixie haircut and her little, oh my god.
She's sitting weirdly in the chair.
Yeah.
Anyway.
If one of her eyes was dilated and the other one wasn't, I'd be like, oh my god. David Bowie's in the house, y'all. He's like, let's dance. Do you want to take a break and maybe we'll come back and see if we have anything left to say? Maybe we'll even talk about our next episode. Okay, we're back from our break. We're going to wrap this show up because, for some reason, Symptoms was really easy to talk about.
Very.
I guess Brad and I sort of agree on this movie.
I would say so.
Yeah. At this point, I'm going to pay a lot more attention to Jose Ramon Larraz.
You and I talked before about how we kind of wanted to delve into him and see, what there was to see. Is Whirlpool, is that available through Cinema de Bizarre? I'm not sure.
No, I think the only movie of his that they have is Deviation, which is ordered and on its way, right? Right?
Yep, birthday gift for you.
Yes. And I applaud your self-control for having not watched it yet.
Yeah, no, I'd send them right on to you. Because your birthday's fast approaching.
That's right. By the time this show goes on the air, my birthday will have been gone for like months.
Yeah, it'll be a distant, brilliant memory.
That's right.
So what year is this year? How old are you going to be?
I'm going to be 35.
35.
I know. It's crazy. I don't feel a day over 13. If anything, I'm nerdier than I was when I was 13 now, I was probably a cool cat when I was 13.
Well, we all know you were born in 1976, which makes you more patriotic than most.
Hell yeah. My mom calls me her bicentennial baby.
The old bicentennial baby, which I remember in one episode I wondered if I hadn't just made up.
No, it's in my fact sheet.
You said your mom used to call you her bicentennial baby, and now she doesn't call you at all.
Oh, that's right. That's not true. I talk to her once in a while.
It's funny.
For those of you looking for this movie, if you can't find it for download and you can't scratch together the money to get it from Cinema de Bizarre, I found Symptoms on YouTube. In its entirety, 9 parts. Which I love when that happens when I'm looking for a movie. I think one of my favorites that I watched on YouTube was The Red-Headed Corpse, starring Farley Granger and Erica Blank? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's Farley Granger and Erica Blank in the 1970 or 71's Red-Headed Corpse. I believe that's still up on YouTube. You should check that one out, too. That's good. But hopefully, even after listening to this episode, you will still like Symptoms. If not, love it more, because you'll have me and Brad being awesome about it.
Exactly.
This is our 6th episode. We can have huge egos, right?
Yeah, hopefully people aren't just totally sick of me at this point.
No. They're sick of me.
No.
Let's argue. Let's argue about who's the shittier aspect of this show.
You do a much better job than I do.
Nope, you do.
No, you do.
No, you do.
And we can continue on that way for quite a few minutes.
Yes, but we won't.
What's next? what's next for us?
The next episode, episode 7, lucky number 7, is going to be The Horrible Dr. Hitchcock, directed by Ricardo Freda. And that will be awesome because that's a movie we both enjoy.
Oh, man, it's a good one. I figure that one will be a good episode.
If there's one director we champion on this show, it is Ricardo Freda because he needs all the love we can get. Give.
Yeah.
Sure.
Give him.
Yes. I'll take some loving from him. I don't care.
Yeah, and we've got some other good episodes coming up, too. Some movies that I'm not going to mention, but...
Yeah, the only reason we don't mention is in case we change the order. We don't want to get you guys excited for something and then, we're going to talk about Moving, starring Richard Pryor.
Yeah, we don't want to do the James Bond thing where I can't remember which film it was, but like 3 films. They're like, James Bond will return in James Bond.
It was Thunderball. I think they kept putting off Thunderball.
Was it?
I think so.
I can't remember, but we don't want to do that.
I don't even know anything about the Bond movies, but I sure as hell listened to that Hollywood Saloon.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Their epic James Bond stuff. Like, oh man. I think I mentioned Hollywood Saloon last time too. They cover movies that I just would never think to even talk about ever, so it's a cool show. I guess we're done. This is episode 6, and we're rambling, so I guess we're done. Well, as I said before, I will try to do a Facebook page. You can find our show at hellodoomedshow.podomatic.com, or you can go to doommoviethon.com. We have a podcast page. You can grab the archives of the show. And yeah, hopefully we'll have a Facebook page soon or something like that. If you want to contact us, you can reach me at richardsplash@gmail.com, which I realize now is a really embarrassing email name. I was trying to come up with something really, really silly and kind of gay, and I did it, and now I'm stuck with it.
Now you're stuck with it.
Man, I wish they wouldn't give us lifelong email addresses. It's so annoying.
Mr. Splash.
That's right. I wish I wasn't Peckerwoodsplash at gmail.idiot. All right. Good night, folks.
Good night, Gracie.
Okay, now I can get the megaphone out.
This is the sound check. It's the sound check for the show. Brad, can you hear me, guys? Okay?
Brad, put down the candy bar. Come out to the building.
No, wait. Bring the candy bar. Stay out of the building.